Perfect Cycles in the Life of Avatar Meher Baba. One of the major tenets revealed by Meher Baba is the concept of the avatar, the recurring descent of God in human form. Baba revealed that the avataric advent is cyclical, occurring once every 700 to 1400 years. The dates given by historians fall close to that range. Baba also reveals that there are cycles between each avataric advent. He refers to these minor cycles as ages. In God Speaks, Baba reveals, in each cycle of time, which ranges from 700 to 1400 years, there are 11 ages of 65 to 125 years each. Let's examine one avataric cycle. There are 11 ages in each avataric cycle, and in each age there are 5 perfect masters. The 5 perfect masters of Baba's advent were Babajan, Sai Baba, Upasni Maharaj, Narayan Maharaj, and Tajuddin Baba. Given that the avatar's advent is cyclical, occurring every 700 to 1400 years, and that there are cycles of ages existing between the avatar's advent, a question arises: are there also cycles within the avatar's lifetime? The answer is yes. Not only are there cycles within Meher Baba's lifetime, an examination reveals that these cycles are mathematically precise. The cycles revolve around transitions in Baba's consciousness. Transitions are an interplay between his human and divine consciousness. The first event upon which all the cycles revolve is Meher Baba's birth, at which time he was known as Merwan Arani. Baba's first transition in consciousness occurs with Babajan's kiss. She removes Merwan's veil, revealing his divine state. Baba experiences a transition from human to God consciousness. Baba resided in a divine coma with no consciousness of the gross world. Under Upasni Maharaj's guidance, Merwan integrated his divine consciousness with ordinary human consciousness. Baba transitioned from God consciousness to integrated human and God consciousness. When the integration of consciousness is complete, Baba leaves Upasni and begins his mission as the avatar of the age. The next transition in consciousness occurs at the beginning of the new life. In the New Life Circular it said, "The new life was a voluntary suspension of the state of perfect master to become a common man and a perfect seeker." Baba experiences another transition in consciousness, this time from integrated human and God consciousness to human consciousness. Baba regains his divine state of consciousness after achieving mononash, the annihilation of the mind. Baba now transitions from human consciousness back to integrated human and God consciousness. The final event in Baba's life is the dropping of his body. So, are there cycles in Baba's life? In order to be mathematically precise, it is necessary to convert the date of each event into decimal form. Each date is first changed to Baba's age at the time of the event. To aid in this conversion, I constructed a table which shows how many days there are in each month and how many days have elapsed since the beginning of a year to the beginning of a month. For example, to convert Baba's birthday, February 25, 1894, we start by saying in the table the 31 days have elapsed prior to February 1st. To determine which day of the year February 25th is, we add 25 to 31. It is the 56th day. Then we divide 56 by 365 to get the fractional part of February 25th. It is 0.15. So Baba's birthday in decimal form is 1894.15. And these are the calculations to determine Baba's age at the start of the new life, which is October 16th, 1949. From the table, we see that 273 days have elapsed by October 1st. We add 16 to find that October 16th is the 289th day of the year. In decimal form, the start of the new life is 1949.79. We subtract Baba's birthday from the new life date to determine that Baba was 55.64 years old at the start of the new life. On the timeline below is Baba's age for each transitional event of his life. To determine what cycles might exist, it is necessary to link events, that is, find events that have common meaning. The first linkage is between birth and new life. New life is a rebirth, thus new life and birth are linked. The time between Baba's birth and the new life constitutes the life cycle. Its length is 55.64 years, which was Baba's age at the start of the new life. What's interesting is that Baba began his avataric mission at exactly halfway between his birth and his new life. This can be seen by taking the length of the major cycle of 55.64 years and dividing it in half. The result is 27.82 years, which is exactly Baba's age when he left Upasni and began his avataric mission. Thus, there are two major cycles. The first is from Baba's birth to when he began his avataric mission, and the second is from when he began his mission until the new life. They are each 27.82 years long. Just as the major cycles are ones of birth and rebirth, there are also minor cycles of death and passing away. The minor cycles are defined by two passing away events. The first is Babajan's kiss, and the second is Baba's dropping of the body. Baba described his state after Babajan's kiss as a living death. He said, "After physical death, an ordinary man is usually dead to the world, and the world is dead to him. During the first 3 days of my superconscious state, in January 1914, I was truly dead to everybody and everything other than my own infinite reality, although my physical body continued to function more or less normally. Actually dead, though really living." Therefore, in order to determine the minor cycles, Babajan's kiss, or the dropping of Merwan, can be linked to Baba's dropping of the body. At the time of Babajan's kiss, Baba was approximately 19.3 years old. It's approximate because we don't know the exact date in May of Babajan's kiss. This period defines the first minor cycle, the time from Baba's birth until his meeting Babajan. And when Baba dropped his body, he was 74.93 years old. Subtracting 19.3 years from his age when he dropped his body yields 55.63 years. This is almost exactly Baba's age at the start of the new life. This defines the second minor cycle, the time between the new life and the dropping of his body. Each minor cycle is 19.3 years long. And each minor cycle starts at a major cycle transition point. There are other key events in Meher Baba's life which confirm that the cycles are not arbitrary. These events revolve around Baba's means of communication, his silence, and his written revelations. And these events occur at transition points, at the beginning and end of major cycles. Let's examine those transitions. The first key event is Baba's beginning of silence on July 10th, 1925, 3.55 years after the start of his avataric mission, which is the first major transition. The second key event occurs when Baba deepens his silence by giving up the alphabet board on October 8, 1954. That was 4.97 years after the start of New Life, the second transition. At the same time that Baba began his silence, he also started to write the book. Regarding the book, Baba said, "The big book I have written will be the future Bible. I have stopped writing anything after finishing this great work, and hence it has force." And God Speaks was dictated by Baba 3.79 years after the second transition, just before giving up the alphabet board. Thus, at the beginning of each major cycle, there's a deepening of silence accompanied by profound written revelation. Baba deepens his silence when giving up speaking and the alphabet board. Revelation is accomplished through writing his book and God Speaks. Silence and revelation are two sides of Baba's communication with humanity. In addition to the major and minor cycles, there are other sequences of events in Baba's life which reflect naturally occurring periods of time. And these natural periods also occur cyclically. To observe these natural periods, we first focus on the time between Babajan's kiss and the start of Baba's avataric mission. Baba explained, "With just a kiss on the forehead between the eyebrows, Babajan made me experience thrills of indescribable bliss, which continued for about 9 months. Then, one night, she'd made me realize in a flash the infinite bliss of self-realization. Indescribable spiritual agonies, which I passed through for another period of 9 months in returning to normal consciousness. 9 months after my self-realization, I began to be somewhat conscious of my surroundings. Finally, I felt impelled to call on Sai Baba. I felt drawn to walk to the nearby temple of Kanduba, in which Maharaj was staying in seclusion. Maharaj greeted me, so to speak, with a stone. With that stroke, Maharaj had begun to help me return to ordinary consciousness of the realm of illusion. It took me 7 years of acute struggle under Maharaj's active guidance to return completely to and become established in normal human consciousness of the illusion of duality, while yet experiencing continuously my super-consciousness. It appears that after Babajan's kiss, Baba underwent the same natural process of development that an embryo, a young child, undergoes. In a sense, Baba experiences a death and rebirth after Babajan's kiss. Again, Baba describes his state. During the first 3 days of my superconscious state, I was truly dead to everybody and everything other than my own infinite reality, although my physical body continued to function more or less normally, actually dead though really living. Like an embryo gestating in a womb, Baba's rebirth takes 9 months to complete. This 9-month period culminates with the start of Baba's integration with normal consciousness. Then, like a child in early development, Baba undergoes 7 years of integration of consciousness with his spiritual parent, his master, Upasni Maharaj. When integration is complete, Baba becomes responsible and assumes the role of avatar. Baba explains, the actions of children under 7 years do not leave any strong or effective impressions on the ego mind, and they do not play any important part in shaping their future. True and effective karma begins after the soul develops a sense of responsibility, usually dawns fully when the soul has spent the first few years of childhood. The 9-month periods of gestation, rebirth, and 7 years of childhood development illustrate that Babajan's kiss does indeed mark a death and rebirth. The naturally occurring periods are cyclical. They occur again during the new life. Let's examine those periods occurring during the new life. During the new life, there are 3 9-month periods. In the new life, Baba played the role of an ordinary seeker. At the start of the new life, he transitioned from God consciousness to normal human consciousness. Ramju, one of the close Mandali, describes Baba's new life state. He said, "I have not only frequently heard Baba refer to himself as an ordinary man, but I have also learned from him again and again that for the present he honestly feels himself to be an ordinary man." The first natural period of the new life ends on July 25, 1950, 9 months after the start of the new life. Baba declared that day was the most eventful day of my new life. On this most eventful day, Baba asked the companions to leave the hall and wait outside. Baba later told the companions that when he had been alone, he reconfirmed the original oath, known only by him, that he had taken at the beginning of the new life. The second 9-month period ends on May 23, 1951. This was the final day of his 100-day seclusion. With the completion of his seclusion, Baba said that the foundation was laid for the final stage of the new life, the step of Mononash. Regarding Mononash, Baba said, "The step God wants me to take is one of complete and absolute annihilation. I am at this moment solely and entirely in the new life, and it is purely from this new life stand of an ordinary human being that I tell you about this annihilation. This step compels me to take on complete mental annihilation. It is as an ordinary man that I have tried to explain the Mononash as to be achieved by an ordinary man." The third 9-month period ends on February 6, 1952. Baba declared that this marked the end of Mononash and the new life itself. For these last 4 months, according to ordinary human standards, and by ways and means known to me, I have tried my utmost for the achievement of Mononash, and I can say in all truth that I feel satisfied with the work done. This satisfaction is due to the feeling I have of having regained my old life Meher Baba state, yet retaining my new life ordinary state. Thus, there are 3 9-month periods during the new life. The end of each period is marked by a significant event. And we see that the 9-month periods are cyclical. There are 9-month periods after Babajan's kiss, and 9-month periods after the start of the new life. And following the 9-month periods after Babajan's kiss is a period of 7 years of integration of consciousness that Baba underwent with Upasni. Shortly after his integration of consciousness is complete, Baba begins his silence and starts to write his book. Likewise, after the completion of Mononash and the new life, Baba deepens his silence by giving up the alphabet board and also writes God Speaks. The cyclical periods occur after the beginning of major and minor cycles. The major and minor cycles are based upon transitions in Baba's consciousness. As a child, Baba experienced ordinary human consciousness. After Babajan's kiss, Baba experienced God consciousness. Work with Upasani integrated his divine and human consciousness. At the beginning of the new life, Baba transitions from God consciousness to ordinary human consciousness. During the new life, Baba functions with ordinary human consciousness. With the completion of Mononash, Baba regains his God-conscious state. It's interesting to note that Baba twice experiences an integration of normal human consciousness with God consciousness. The first integration occurs with the completion of his 7 years of work with Upasani. The second integration occurs with the completion of Mononash at the end of the new life. Shortly after the first integration of consciousness, Baba begins his silence and writes his book. Shortly after the second integration, Baba deepens his silence by giving up the alphabet board, and he writes God Speaks. A question arises: why do silence and written revelation occur after integrations of consciousness? And why do silence and revelation occur almost simultaneously? Maybe it's because silence and revelation are two sides of the same expression. And because God is found in the silent part of our being, Baba reveals his divinity through silence. And because Baba is silent, he reveals the nature of God through the written word. Baba's external silence is the expression of internal silence, which is the truth residing within each human being. Regarding silence, Baba says, external silence helps to achieve inner silence, and only in internal silence is Baba found. In profound inner silence, I am never silent. I speak eternally. The voice that is heard deep within the soul is my voice, the voice of inspiration, of intuition, of guidance. Through those who are receptive to this voice, I speak. The title of Baba's cosmological revelation is entitled God Speaks. Baba speaks externally, not with his voice, but through the written word. But why do deepening of silence and revelation occur after the integrations of consciousness? Perhaps Baba's means of communication, his silence and revelations, are a continuation of the integration of consciousness. An avataric advent begins with the descent of God into the human form of the avatar. God's infinite power, knowledge, and bliss are consciously integrated within the avatar. I speculate that in order for infinite knowledge to be integrated within the avatar's ordinary finite human mind, infinite knowledge must be translated into a form that the human mind can understand. The infinite must be comprehended by the finite. The unexplainable must be explained. Finite and infinite understanding are then integrated within the avatar. God can now be explained in human terms. When integration is complete within the avatar, he is ready to begin his mission. The next integration is with humanity. Integration continues with the dissemination of the avatar's message of love and truth. First to his disciples, then to his lovers, and eventually into the minds and hearts of all humanity. God's infinite knowledge is disseminated through revelation, and God's infinite bliss and love are revealed through the Avatar's silent love. Baba did not make use of infinite power during this advent. Thus, Baba's silence and revelations are a natural continuation of his integration of consciousness. We have seen that there are avataric cycles occurring every 700 to 1400 years. There are also cycles of 11 ages occurring between avataric advents. And in Avatar Meher Baba's life, there are mathematically precise major cycles and mathematically precise minor cycles, as well as cyclical periods of 9 months and repeating events of deepening silence coinciding with revelation. And most important, all of the cycles and events revolve around transitions in Meher Baba's consciousness. It is not surprising that Meher Baba's life consisted of perfect cycles because the advent of the Avatar is the expression of God's perfection in human form. His perfection can manifest in many ways. The Avatar can express perfection in love, knowledge, service, or in any aspect of human life he chooses. The Avatar expresses the life of the perfect human being. In the discourses, Baba says, perfection is attained when man becomes God or when God becomes man. When there is a happy and conscious blending of the finite and the infinite, we have perfection. Then we have the infinite revealing itself through the finite without getting limited thereby, and the finite transcending its sense of limitation in the full knowledge of its really being the revelation of the infinite.